Welcome back everyone! In spirit of Plastic Free July, today I'm going to be showing you how to take single-use plastics, like this water bottle, and transforming them into beautiful garden or outdoor decorations, like these flowers. So grab your favorite colors in paint and some water bottles from your recycling bin, and let's get into today's video. So for this craft, we're going to need your favorite colors of paint, paintbrushes, a permanent marker, scissors, and of course your plastic water bottles. Now, just to remember, this one water bottle makes 2 flowers, so plan accordingly with that. So what we're going to do first is we're going to peel the label off of the bottle, and also we're going to unscrew the cap. Now we're going to grab our scissors and we are carefully going to put pressure on the bottle so that we pierce through the plastic, poking a hole in the bottle and cutting all the way around so it becomes 2 pieces. The first flower uses the top of the water bottle, and what we're going to do is we're going to take our permanent marker and we're going to draw petals like I'm doing here all the way around the bottle. We're going to grab our scissors and we're going to cut along the lines until we reveal our beautiful petals. You're going to want to be very careful at this step because the plastic can be sharp, so make sure you take your time in this step. After we've cut our flower out, we're going to want to put pressure on the petals so we fold them over so they're facing the same way as the top of the bottle. This becomes important later when we paint it and then when we use it to decorate our space. We're ready to start painting, but before we start, make sure that you lay something down on your surface so we're not getting paint on anything important. And the color I'm grabbing is for the middle of the flower. It's going to be yellow, so I'm roughly putting it on the middle, not really making sure that I get all the spaces because it's going to take a couple coats anyways. While this dries, we're going to take our second lightest color. In this case, it's a light pink, and we're blending it into the yellow to create a gradient sort of look. So I'm going to paint all the petals in the same way as seen here, all the way around. Again, not really making sure it looks the best because it's going to take a few coats anyways. The last color is our darkest color, so I've chosen a dark pink. And again, I'm just doing the same step over, blending it into the color underneath, and I'm painting over all of the leftover spaces. You'll see also that I'm painting over the permanent marker, although at this step it kind of looks like you can see through it. But again, once we put on all the layers and we add our little details that we want to add, the permanent marker will not be able to shine through. I was satisfied with the look of my flower after around 3 coats, but you have to make sure that in between each layer you let that dry fully. I also made sure to paint the backs so it looked a little more clean. And while those layers are drying, I also made sure to paint the cap the same color as the middle of my flower, so that was yellow. After it fully dried, this is how my flower turned out. I'm pretty satisfied with the look, so let's move on to the next one. For the next flower design, I'm using the very bottom of the bottle, And again, I'm just making my petals. This one, it was a little tricky for me just because of the ridges of the bottle, but I found that even if I made my lines messy, when I cut them out, I was able to fix it up, so don't worry about that. And again, we're going to cut this out, being very careful around the edges, making sure that you don't cut yourself because the edges can be sharp before you cut them into round petals. For this flower, I'm not going to show you exactly what I did to paint mine. I just used my creativity. I focused on darker colors, so purples and blues, and a little bit of pink, and I created my own flower using some of my favorite colors. Let your creativity flow with the designs. It is really all up to you on what they end up looking like. Here is what my two looked like after I put all the coats on, and I'm really happy with them. I decided to cut out two more, this one more a tulip design, and this just being another flower like the one I showed before. So I'll come back after these are all painted. And here's the final reveal of the flowers I made. Again, I just made sure to put a coat or two on the outside to make it look more clean. On this one I added a little ladybug, which I thought was really cute. And this is the one that we did together. I added a little darker orange on the top just to give it more detail. And here's the tulip I made as well. So now I'm going to show you what I did with each of these flowers and how I used them to decorate. For the first one, I just grabbed some bracelet wire that I already had at my house, but you can easily pick this up at the dollar store. And I rang it through the back of the flower, through the top circle, and I just wrapped it around the top of the bottle so that when I put the cap on, it was easy to stay in place and I knew that it wouldn't fall out. For the same look, you could also use a pipe cleaner or anything that has that sort of material that is easy to maneuver and make your own. For the pink flower, I just grabbed some string that I had available to me already, and I weaved it through the back of the bottle, making sure that I just do the same sort of motion that I did on the one before, where I'm wrapping it around the top of the bottle so that when I put the cap on, it's not going to fall out. And also, once I screw the cap on, I make sure to cut any of the excess string off for a more cleaner look. For the tulips, I conveniently found some green colored plastic straws in my junk drawer, but since we're trying not to purchase any single-use plastics this July, you could also use popsicle sticks and paint them green, or paper straws, or just normal sticks. Now we're in my backyard garden where I'm just tying the first flower with string on wherever I think it would look cute, and making sure to cut off the excess. For the tulip and also the purple flower, I'm shoving them into the soil with the plants just to add a little color in the garden since most of it is green. I think it adds a beautiful pop, and I just made sure to push them in until they stood on their own. And for the blue one, which you'll see in a second, I'm just snaking it up my tomato pole until it stays by itself. Being intentional about your single-use plastic intake also means recycling plastic that you have already used, in this case into beautiful garden decorations. I hope you enjoyed today's video and we'll see you next time.